It is Lonny J, and my guest right now is a celebrated actor and country music artist with 19 albums to his credit and 4 #1 singles on the Billboard charts. His incredible list of movies and TV shows and made-for-TV movies is way too long to mention. However, he currently stars as Jim Cryer on the hit series The Haves and the Have-Nots, but you absolutely know him as Bo Duke from the Dukes of Hazzard. Please welcome John Schneider. John, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Before we get into your music, because that's what I want to talk about, and of course you're going to be in Greenville at the Texan Theater. We'll get into that in just a couple of minutes, but I wanted to ask you about the role that made you as famous as you are, and of course that's Bo Duke on the Dukes of Hazzard. Now, you won that role at the age of 17, is that correct?
Well, somehow they got me at 17 now. I was 18, and now that makes a difference because 17 is illegal. But what happened is I did lie about my age because they were looking for people 24 to 30, and I was only 18. So I told them, and they were looking for people from rural Georgia. 24 to 30, rural Georgia. So I was 18 from Westchester County, New York. And, of course, I told them I was 24 and from the great town of Snailville, Georgia.
That's great.
And they believed it. So, it was a good thing. I wouldn't even have gotten the audition. I wouldn't have been in the room if I had told them I was 18 and from hoity-toity New York State. And so, you do what you have to do because I firmly believe you do not have a second chance to make a first impression. So go for it.
How did that change your life? Obviously, by being well-known and I don't know what kind of money you made doing the show. That's not important. But as an 18-year-old who went from basically being unknown to being a household name, how does that affect an 18-year-old?
Well, thankfully, I had a 10-year history already of musical theater and guitar and magic. It did affect me. I mean, my gosh, that was an astonishing time. We worked 10 a year, 5 days a week, 12 hours a day.
That's a lot of hours that you put in on that show.
It really was, and it was great. I mean, it was great hours. I mean, imagine being an 18-year-old who loves cars. I didn't come to love cars because of Dukes. So I loved cars, and I was living a life where if I broke the General Lee, somebody would bring me another one.
That's nice.
Now, that's pretty darn good. I kind of like that world.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Now, I want to leave that show behind because your music is really what we want to talk about here. Last year, you launched an extremely ambitious 52-song album project called The Odyssey. 52 songs. What was the inspiration for that? How did you come about wanting to do that?
Well, I've been out of the music business for so long. The last song I had on MCA, I think, was 1988, I think. It might have been 87. And my, at that time, lovely girlfriend pointed out that I seemed to be happiest when I had a guitar in my hand. Or when I was unhappy, I would naturally go over and pick up my guitar. She convinced me to do a new album, and we did that one after the 2 terrible floods we had in 2016, and that one's called Ruffled Skirts. Did that, and then had so much fun, and they worked so well that we decided to go back to Nashville and do just a couple of songs. And honestly, it was so much fun. I felt so at home back in the recording studio with songwriters and singers and musicians and things that we decided to do 14 songs. And, we're tragically over exuberant, and we wound up, because somebody from the show Nashville had released a demo every week, we decided, well, heck, if they can do that, we can release a full-blown song every week and go for a Guinness World Record. So that's what we decided to do. We did it, and get this, we redid my greatest hits album that was on MCA, plus we did a Christmas album of 10 songs. So that's 52, 62, 72 songs we did in a year's time.
Basically, what you're telling me is after Dukes, you've just kind of sat around and done nothing. You decided not to work anymore. Now, we're all a fan of all of your work, the acting and the recording, the singing, everything. But I have to tell you something that really stands out to me, John, something that to me is much more important thinking about you as a person than the art. And that is, in 1983, you co-founded with Marie Osmond and her family the Children's Miracle Network. And since that organization began, your organization has raised more than $7 billion, with a B, $7 billion, which is distributed directly to a network of 170 hospitals. And my friend, I'll tell you, that is amazing.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm so honored to be part of Children's Miracle Network. We've been around a long time, and because of it, and I was 22 when we started that. Because of it, I've had the great opportunity to now know children who were 12, 8, 9, 15, who were really in a fight for their lives, who are now parents themselves. And it's an amazing thing to have been part of and to continue to be a part of. So I thank you for that. It's an interesting thing where you can look back. I'm 59 years old right now. I was 22 when I helped start Children's Miracle Network. It's nice to know that in the thick of the Dukes of Hazzard and in the thick of those hours I was telling you about, and in the thick of celebrity, there was something going on in my soul that believed it was important to do that.
Well, it's a great organization.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. You're all the accolades are worth it. Now, before we let you go, and we're going to tell everybody about how you'll be at the Texan Theater here in Greenville on Friday, August 2nd. We'll talk about that. We'll end that in a minute. But before you run, there's a story I wanted to ask you about. You began performing about the age of 8. You were putting on magic shows for your friends and family, from what I understand. And
I did, and I had an ad in the paper, so I actually was hired occasionally.
There was one instance that caused a little trouble. At the age of 8, you had yourself chained up and tossed into a swimming pool with the intention of recreating Harry Houdini's legendary escape. What in the world were you thinking?
Well, you don't jump into a pool with chains and ropes and in the deep end of a pool unless you know how to get out. So of course I practiced in the shallow end, and I practiced everything I was doing. But the reason I got my as Waylon would say on the Dukes, I got my tail in a crack, is because I waited to jump in the pool until my mother had gotten home from work, and I had all of our friends and my friends at the apartments where we were living there in North Springs, Georgia. They were all there, and hey, Shirley, look, watch this. I said, hey, Mom, and I jumped into the deep end of the pool, chained and roped. And she probably, when it was over, she said one of those great things like, if you'd drowned, I'd have killed you.
That's right. You took 10 years off of her life that day, John.
It did, but God bless her. I had done magic for a long time, and I almost set the rug on fire in the living room once. And it's just kind of what you have to live with when your son wants to be a magician.
Well, speaking of magic, we're talking to the one and only John Schneider. Now, you'll be coming to the Texan Theater in Greenville on Friday. What can we expect from that show, John?
Well, I'm going to do the greatest hits, or the ones that people know me from way back when, and also some of the brand new ones from the Redneck Rebel and some from the Odyssey. But I love to tell stories, so I kind of play off the audience. So I'll stop. I think it drives the band crazy. I'll just stop in the middle of a song and answer a question. Not all the time, but sometime throughout the night. So, folks, if you've got something you just dying to know, other than how many General Lees were there, 329. I'll tell you that right now. Then come on out to the show. Get ready to sing along with songs you know. Get ready to move along with songs you don't know yet. And hopefully get ready to be really, really entertained by someone who loves, I don't just like music. I love music. Music makes my heart beat, and it always has.
Well, we're sure it'll be a fantastic show based on everything you've done up till now. John Schneider, thank you so very much for taking the time to join us. We'll see you when you get to Greenville.
Well, yeah, and hey, folks, go check out my my website and the YouTube channel. It's just called John Schneider. So check that out, and I will see you at the Texan. I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun.